This is the Podcast, where we focus on family, friends, finances, freedom, and our future, and everything else. This is the Podcast, and tonight we got an extra special guest, one and only Ryan. Special guest, big cuz we in the building, we getting right to it. Ryan, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you spending your evening with me on today.
No doubt. I'm glad to be here, cuz.
Alrighty, so look, I'm gonna jump right into this. We'll get to know you through the story here, through the questions, because one thing I do like to ask people who are from Durham, just for the point of clarity, like, where were you born exactly? I don't even know if I know this exactly. Like, where were you born?
Durham County General.
Okay, Durham County General. And I like to ask people, what schools did you go through growing up in Durham? Like, if you could just kind of name, like, from beginning to where you ended up graduating, so we can hear these things.
Well, as I've been finding out recently, most black people went to Tyler's Academy. So that was the preschool. Then I went to Pearson Town Elementary, then Lowe's Grove Middle School, and then Jordan High School. I've been Durham, born and raised. It's been great. It's been great.
Hey, man. And so shout out to those schools. And I want to ask, because what we're gonna focus on is like more so when you left Durham. So I'm curious, where did you meet your wife?
So I met her at Howard. It was in DC, and it was obviously I went to Hampton. I got to support my alma mater, and she went to FAMU, and I went to a basketball game with Hampton Howard basketball game up here in DC. She was sitting like maybe a few rows below us in the stands, and I just remember the game. We won the game, but the Howard fans were doing one of our cheers. I was standing. We were doing the cheers back, and she had looked up, and then she had came up and sat with us. It was me, my boy Reggie. And she was like, what's this whole HU rivalry? Because usually we're not from like regionally in this area, so it doesn't mean anything. And her being from Florida, Hampton Howard was just two HBCUs. So we kind of just talked her through that. And she was there with it was her former athletic director who was trying to get a job at Hampton. So he had invited her to come. So that's why she was there. And she had just moved to the area probably less than 30 days prior.
So random basketball game, and you don't know of her at all at this time at the basketball game.
Right.
Okay. And the game ends.
Yeah.
And so at what point did you start like paying more attention to her than the game? Was you locked in at halftime? Or was this I'm curious, like, at what point did you really like, there's somebody down there that's got my attention? Because, like, what's the distance between where you were and where she was at the time?
It was 2 or 3 rows, so she was like literally right there.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could reach down and probably have to lean forward and reach down. And we over the course of the game we were talking. We had asked her, me and my friend Reggie, we had asked her what was she doing that evening, because we were meeting up with some other people to go to the movies. We're going to see Pitch Black at City Place Mall, and she gave Reggie the number. She didn't give me the number. So I didn't have the number. So at that point, I'm like, I ain't gonna step on any toes. He got the number, whatever. And nobody else ended up going to the movie. There was some people coming from Baltimore, and they never showed up. Reggie was over at my house, and we were deciding we were gonna go down. And Reggie called her, left a message, said they called my house. I didn't have a cell phone at the time, because that's where he was gonna be. When she called back, I answered, and she's like, well, y'all not gonna come down here and pick him? Like, we young, we drive all over the place. We'll come get you. So, excuse me. So we did. We picked her up. We went to the movies. Me, her, and Reggie, just 3 of us. I think so. They were talking during the movie, not much, but I just remember just watching the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went out to IHOP later on. I think we were at IHOP like 3 something in the morning on Georgia Avenue, and it was the three of us just chopping it up. And then when we dropped her off in DC, when she got out to walk, so Reggie didn't. Well, and it's not a knock on Reggie, but
Yeah.
he didn't walk her to the door. So I was like, okay, well, I'll at least walk her to the door.
Mm.
And I just said, well, you got my number. If you ever want to hang out, whatever, just call me. And that was Saturday. Well, now like Sunday morning now. But I had told her when I got home, there was an ad in the Safeway grocery paper, and it was like chicken on sale. And so this is the truth. So I called up. I said, "Hey, you want a meal? Chicken's on sale. I'm about to go pick up some chicken. If you want a free meal, I will cook dinner. You come through." And she took me up on it, and I made her. That was the first time I cooked for her. We watched Silence of the Lamb because I hadn't seen it before, but that was the first time
A
we
little
went out.
creepy,
And
but okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was. But I didn't know. I hadn't seen it.
So two things to point out here, because one, if you out there listening, walk her to the door. You gotta walk her to the door. You never know what it might lead to. So don't be lazy, fellas. Walk her to the door. Like, one. And then two, you said you invited her over and cook a meal, offered her a free meal, but you did it in a way that creative, I would say, right? Right. We didn't
Yeah,
even have to go do nothing crazy, just something thoughtful, right? Like,
right. Because I was joking. It was a jokingly man. I was like, "Hey, chicken on sale, so I'm about to go grab some."
already can see that you're a thoughtful and think, and you're thinking about like value as well. Those are great qualities, right? Like, smart guy, right? So
Right.
that's correct. So y'all met at a basketball game, and from that moment on, you just basically stayed in contact.
Yeah, so we met February 19th, and I didn't actually have a Valentine's date, but I had won a Valentine's dinner to Outback for my apartment complex. I just told me and my mom real close. I told her, hey, when I come home, we can go to Outback for belated Valentine's. But after that night that we had the chicken on sale, I called my mom and said, hey, I know I promised you that Valentine's dinner, but it's all right. I met somebody, and I think I might want to take her out for it's a belated Valentine's. And she was like, of course. And we went to Outback, and that was our first like official date. It was like I think it was that Tuesday, so that'd have been 22nd, February 22nd. We went out on our first date, so it was quick. It was boom, boom, boom.
Okay, wow. I'm curious because like how long have you been married at this point?
Whew, it's 20 years.
Oh wow, dang. 20 years. Wow, 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 wow. Yo, that's crazy, because so I guess it makes sense, because so we'll be 10 years this year. And
Okay.
when you talk about like being married 20 years, and this is somebody you randomly met at a basketball game of all places, right? I'm curious, and I like to ask these questions, because I think we, or society, has overcomplicated what like relationships are and what love is supposed to be. And I just think it's gotten overcomplicated, and it's been falsified in a way. Like, what's presented is not the reality. It's been presented in a false way. I want to ask, for you, if you could go back to that time period, what made you pursue the relationship eventually as something more than just a relationship, like where you wanted to make a marriage out of it? Like, what were some of those initial thoughts, just for you personally, that you were like, man, this is something that I think I want to do?
I had foot surgery. I remember I had the foot surgery. So this is your big toe, and it was this bone right here, and they had to cut it open, and it got infected during the healing process, and so they had to open it up, and I could see the bone when I was in the doctor's office, and he was tapping on it, and you could hear it, and like he's like, "You hear that? That's your bone." I'm like, "You'll have to tap on my bone."
So they didn't put you to sleep for this?
Not the when they would open it up, the infection part.
Ooh.
So it was like I just walked in, like, "Hey doc, I think something wrong. My foot's in pain. It smells bad." And they said, yeah, it's infected. And they said the best way is just to open up and let it heal, and then you just change the bandages daily. Through the insurance, I think it covered like a week. Nurse coming to the house twice a day to change it. And so Toya, after that week, and she was living in DC, I'm in Germantown, so it's about, I don't know, 30, 35 minutes maybe without traffic. And she came to my house twice a day to change that bandage for me.
How long were
And
y'all
I was
dating
like,
at this point?
that would have had to have been, that was late summer, so I would say probably about 7, 8 months,
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
When she did that, I said, "You found a woman that'll go inside your foot. That's a woman for you."
Oh wow. Wow.
So that's internally. That's when I said, "Okay, yeah, she'll take care of me. She got my back."
Okay.
So,
Word. Word. So all right. So if I just take a step back, because I've known you essentially all of like my life of having a brain and memory, right? So I've seen you always as this like this character who, because you do magic tricks and you're very personable and like you were always nice to me as an older cousin. So my perception of you growing up was like very much like a cool cousin. You and Sean, like I would just look at y'all and be like, wow, like I wanna do what they do, right? I never learned how to do magic, of course, but one thing I'll say about you is that what I've observed, at least, is that you seem to always be like relationship oriented from my perspective. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I would agree.
I grew up relationship oriented as well. I'm curious, like for you, why do you think that is versus being maybe a little bit more free with your choices?
Probably my parents when they're hitting this August, they'll be 49 years married, and so
49. Wow.
49,
Wow.
and and I only have to tell you, but for the people watching, and you know as well, they're still on their honeymoon. They're still on their first date, and you can come over for Thanksgiving and they'll have hickeys on the neck, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh gosh. But I mean, but that's what I grew up with. I grew up with this, like they were just like the epitome of what you saw in a relationship and what you wanted for yourself. And growing up, like middle school, high school, it was just icky. It was like, y'all so annoying. But
Right.
as an adult, you definitely appreciate it. Because that's the example of love. That's the example of always being there for each other. That this foundation in your household it just overcomes everything. And they always did things like they took care of the community. I know they would bring food to people when it was snowing outside
Yeah.
and stuff. They were just that's where I got it from. It's definitely from them.
Word. Word. Having, say, a upfront seat to what's going to be over a 50-year union. If there's one or two like major takeaways of seeing something evolve like that over time from the outside in, like you said, as a kid, it's one thing, but now you have adult, your perspective in your own 20-year marriage. Like, if there's one thing about their marriage that you think really helps sustain something like that over time, what do you think it is personally?
Probably making the time out to spend with each other. I don't know if I got the timing exactly right, but it felt like no matter how busy they were, because my dad at some point working 3 jobs,
Mm,
and they made it a point at least once a month to they would have a date night. So they would go out, and it could be just going to downtown Durham and just get in the room,
hmm
and we would have a babysitter because I know your mom would watch us, and I think that was the key. They always made time for themselves. So no matter how busy things got, they made time.
mm.
And I think that's a testimony to like never growing old of each other or stale. They just made time for each other. Now sometimes I feel like they do everything together. They finish each other's sentences. Like I don't want to be that bad.
Yeah.
But I think that's the biggest attribute I feel is just they made a time. They put effort into the sustainment, keeping things fresh, keeping things exciting between the two of them.
Word. I ain't gonna lie, like you said, till this day, I was at my uncle's crib a few months back, and your parents were there, and we were playing cards. And like you said, just to this day, the way that they flirt with each other, it's just great to see, honestly. It is. It does give you something to aspire to, in my opinion. It's an inspiring thing to see up close. So yeah, shout out to them for sure. Being relationship oriented and then finding someone who you felt like was really like someone who you thought would be worth making that sacrifice, did you have any sort of fears about marriage as a young person, like at that age? Like, I'm curious, like, did you have like any like things you had to overcome personally before you got to that point?
For me, a lot of things with me being hearing impaired and wearing a hearing aid for most of my life, that was, could I find somebody that appreciate for me, and not like that I couldn't hear, or that it was just, oh well, he can cook, so I know I don't have to worry about something like that. But it was just somebody that, appreciated me and all my silly quirks, because I know I am crazy, and I felt I had that. I think that was like, I felt like it was something for me as who I am, not as because I did X, Y, Z or something. Like, oh, he brought me this purse. Like it was definitely nothing materialistic, nothing that just hinged on a specific action. It was just, I felt as a person she appreciated me.
My next question is, because like I would say, like, because you have the parents you have a unique perspective on what a marriage could look like up close in terms of the like you said, the closeness of what it could look like over time. I'm curious. I tell people things do change when you get married. That is what I would tell people. It's not the same thing as not being
Right,
married. People might think they know what to anticipate upon getting married, but then you get married and you are like, okay, this is marriage.
right.
And so
And it
just
worked.
yeah. So for you, looking back, right? If you could tell that younger version of yourself with 20 years of experience, right? If you could tell that younger person who may have thought they knew one or two things, like if you could have gave that person a little game to let them know that you're tripping, what were some of those things that maybe early on you thought would be one way, and then you come to find out that like that's not what marriage really is about at all?
Right. Because I'm an engineer and I work with stuff that has to be methodical, exact, it was calculated. Like stuff could be off by an inch and it can mess things up. So it was not a lot of give in my mindset, like a lot of stuff was either it is or it ain't. And I think that's one piece of advice. Like there can always be some gray area. Like a marriage isn't an engineering solution.
Mm,
It's the relationship is a give and take. And even though there's certain things that you may like to do. This is a terrible example, but like, leaving the toilet seat up.
hmm
My mindset could be like, well, as much energy as it is for me to put the toilet seat down, I could just close the whole thing and you had to lift up the lid. Like that would be my mindset as opposed to like, all right, baby, I'll just leave the toilet seat down. Like that was that exactness that I would tell my younger self. Like everything don't have to be cut and dry.
That's an interesting way to frame it. You said, but it said your engineer background, things have to be specific. If you could go back, you would say like more gray.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to treat your marriage like an engineering problem. It's emotion, it's feelings, it's a whole bunch of other stuff. It's not just, what type of cable do I need to get this signal through?
Mm,
And it may just be one type of cable. But in a marriage, it could be different avenues you could take to get across that bridge. And that's the different mindset that I would tell myself.
got it. Got it. Okay.
And the same thing with like I use that, like my dad being a psychologist. Sometimes as a child growing up, you may have wanted a father perspective on something as opposed to maybe getting a psychologist perspective. And I get that's your trade, that's something you've been doing for a long, long time. You studied it, you trained for it, and it's your natural way to approach a solution. Sometimes you want to be like, I just need you to be a dad right now. Throw all that away. And that's just a way to, kind of give an analogy as from a father-son perspective, husband-wife perspective. It's because you train a certain way. Everything doesn't need that type of
Mm.
solution.
So would you say you saw your father in yourself, or like the way you just linked,
No,
the way you just
not
linked that? Like, did you say like, when you got married, you say, "Oh, I'm being like my dad. Like I'm approaching this like an engineer the way he approaches it like a psychologist," or am
oh
I
no,
hearing that?
she pointed that out. She pointed that out to me.
Okay, word. So she put the mirror up so you could see more clearly
Right.
there. Okay.
Yeah, or she would say, see now you're acting like Winston. Winston. She's not dissing my dad, but just I'm just behaving a certain manner that's more, I guess, background oriented, more career oriented in terms of solution.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so as she puts that to my in the front of me and that mirror up, I said, okay, all right, because I know I hated it growing up. So I can see from your perspective. I got it now. So it
Okay.
definitely wasn't a self reflection. It was brought up to me.
Okay, word. Okay, hey man, that's why we have partners, man. Because you can't see
Right.
we got blind spots. You can't see it all. And I tell you one thing, you get a good partner. That's one thing they will do. They will let you know all of those blind spots that you don't necessarily see. They will put the flashlight right on there for you. Like that is a fact. So, how long were you and Toya married before you had your first child?
A little bit over 5 years.
5 years. Oh, that's a nice run. That's a nice run.
Yeah, we had different opinions. I wanted to have him early and get him out the house. Like I was always thinking about Heathcliff Huxtable, kids always in the house. They never get any freedom. So I was like, let's get them early and get them out. And I think she was more of the enjoy being married and doing things and stuff, and then have the kids later. And another part of it, I didn't want to be like 50 something when my kids are just going to high school and trying to play ball with them and stuff. I wanted to be able to still hang, and do stuff. So that was my thought process. So get them in and get them out.
Hmm.
That's-
In retrospect, do you think that was the best move?
Well, I actually wanted sooner than 5. So 5 was kind of in between.
Compromise?
It's worked out nice. The Mariah was, let's see, I want to say she was about 12, 11 or 12, where I was trying to show her I was still the man, I could outrun her, and she had just finished practice, an hour and a half of practice. Yeah, I'm gonna show her we're gonna run a whole soccer field, and I didn't stretch,
Oh my gosh.
and that was bad. That was bad. And I had like we were there because like maybe 4 girls and their dads all ran, and I would say about 3/4 of the field, I was still there with her, and she started pulling away. And my brain said, "Don't let her do it. Don't let her do it." And I said, "I got it. I will go." And I pushed it,
Oh
and my
man.
hamstring. I was on the ground. I was, whew, it was
Oh
bad.
my
And she,
goodness.
she she finished, and then she stopped, and she came back, and she's like, "Dad, you okay?" Like she was real concerned about me. But it was at that point I knew,
First time she saw dad
yeah.
crying was on the field holding his hammies.
Now, if we had waited a lot longer to have kids, I would have been like, I probably never even had a chance to race it.
Hmm.
And so I do appreciate that. I would take her when we would play basketball. Like I would pick her up from daycare and take her to where I would hoop with some of the friends and coworkers, and she would pick Mariah up on her way home from school. So she got to see me play and stuff. She got to see that dad was somewhat
Got it. Yeah,
cool and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And so I do appreciate that. So I mean, I don't have any quarrels about it. I think it worked out okay.
Having the first child, what were some of those just immediate adjustments that if you were to go back and change in any way anything to your approach, like what would you have intentionally done that you didn't do?
The main thing I would say would try to encourage more babysitting nights, like how my parents did. You kind of get into that mindset of nobody can watch your baby like you can, and it's just a baby. I think that would be like the main thing, just to make sure we still made time for ourselves. Yes, you are caring for this new human being, but you still want to maintain your relationship and everything.
Were y'all
That's
helicopter cops? Like were y'all the helicopter type or how like what?
no. I want to say like if we were on the newlywed game and this was a question, I might would have to say if I was trying to get this right. I would say she would be more of a helicopter parent than I was at that point. Cause like I did want to let Mariah cry it out and cry herself to sleep, and she didn't want to do that, but she was still my baby girl. Like that was like I ain't gonna let nothing happen to you type thing. And like so this might put me in a helicopter category. I remember she was sick one time and she couldn't breathe, and she had to be 8 months
Hmm.
or so, 8 9 months. So, but you could tell she was having trouble breathing out of her nose and everything, and that little suction ball bulb thing, like it just wasn't working. And but she looked like she was really struggling to breathe. So like without thinking, I just put my mouth over her nose and just
Oh
just
boy.
just
Ooh wee.
and Tori looking at me like, I was like. my baby can't breathe. I gotta do whatever I gotta do,
like a
to get my
bird or
baby.
something, like just pure animal like instincts kick in, like gotta get it out. That is
Right,
nuts.
right. And I got it out, and after it's like, man, that was gross. That was nasty.
Sounds
But
disgusting. Oh man, that sounds disgusting.
we have a sound bite for that.
Oh man, yo, oh, you did what? Yeah, that is a wild one, boy. Oh man.
But I mean, when she was breathing immediately after that, I felt like, all right, I did what I had to do, and I didn't swallow. I spit it out immediately. In case anybody's out there wondering. But I think at that point, I know Toya knew. I don't think she doubted it before, but I think she knew I would do whatever to take care of our babies. So that might put me in helicopter parent.
Yeah, hey man, my mom. I know my mama loved me, but I don't think she would ever just like mouth to nose get the snot out. Like I'm gonna have to check and see like, or like would she be that dedicated? You know what I'm saying? Because that Naraya, she owes you a hug right now just for Eve. I don't know. Did she know that you did that? Like, did she aware?
Yeah, she
Okay.
knows.
Oh my
Yeah, I'll
goodness.
throw it up there every now and then.
Yeah,
I'm
got to
like,
for
girl,
life.
I saved you. I sucked your snot.
For life. For life.
So Toya said she wouldn't have done it.
Nah, you a good one for that. So more babysitting nights. So that's interesting to hear that that would be one thing you would have done more of. So why do you feel like it was tough to do the babysitting thing? Was it your own like I don't want nobody around my kid? Did you not trust people? Like what made it difficult in retrospect?
I would say more so for. Oh, he said your mom would not do it.
It's a fact.
I agree. I agree.
Facts.
I would say it would be more. I was more willing to get a babysitter, and then she was more overprotective of Naraya. Said, "Nah, they're not gonna do it like it's in the time where stuff was in the news, or, stuff happening at daycare and everything." That she was definitely more overcautious with who we would let watch our kids.
This is a reason why I think it isn't like we talk about just family, right? Because like you used to watch me back in the day from time to
Right.
time. Like, so when you have family within a radius, it is more like, all right, we'll drop them off with such and such.
Right, right.
Like,
Or people just come and say, "Hey, we got Naraya.
right,
Y'all go out and do
right.
something." And not having, I guess, my parents, would they be the closest? They would be the closest. Oh well, no, I have cousins in Richmond. She didn't have any family. All her family's in Texas and Florida.
Oh wow,
So
okay.
in terms of family, yeah, we didn't have like that next of kin family that was here that could just come by. No grandma, no great grandma could come by. So that was something we did not have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that would make a big difference. Just like in thinking about the one when we well not even say we per se because you were say a generation before, but I think our generations are more relatable in that. Like I was a latchkey kid. I grew up without internet. I remember turning the dials on the TV when you go to the country. You go to Aunt Vita's house, like trying to just watch Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy all day. Like it says like when when you're growing up in those days, it was like we could just go off and do stuff. Like I remember growing up, I would be in South Square Mall randomly. My mom would have no clue, right? I'm that close. I rolled my bike down there. She didn't know, made it back in time. Like no, because you could just be outside. But today, the idea of just letting your elementary age kid just be outside and you
Right.
don't know what they're doing or when they're coming back is insane. Like
Right.
why do you personally just think that is from your perspective? Because it does show a big difference in how, say, we came up versus how kids are coming up today.
Well, definitely the internet and social media, TikTok, Facebook. It's almost more important to get likes than it is to go down to the neighborhood court, hoop or whatever. And then you mentioned riding your bike. Where the Holmans live, that was 4 streets over,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the thing. And not that we had a plan. I didn't even know they were home.
Right.
You just rode up, and they might be outside playing football, roll to the bat or something. And for like 4, 5, 6 hours, that's just all we did. And they would feed you like people would feed you the biggest thing you could ask any of the kids, what did Ryan eat all of those? It was fish sticks. Did they ever have fish sticks?
You were staying for dinner. You were like, oh, fish sticks. Don't mind if I do. That's hilarious. But hold up, yo, you just reminded me of something that I did not really think about before we started this, because I more so equated Sean to the twins.
Okay.
But you knew my stepbrothers before I knew my stepbrothers, which is actually your parents introduced my mom and Pete, right? From what I understand, they met through your parents.
Right.
Why the didn't I think about this? Oh, hold up. So I gotta do this to my brother. So going back to those days, like what do you talk about going over to the Holmans? Like who was, like, what age are we talking about, and what was the situation there, like with Matt, the twins? What age are we talking about?
We lived there elementary, middle, and half of high school. So in terms of when I started riding my bike up there, it probably been middle school when I was starting, because it was right on Highway 55. And even though we cut through people's backyards, and you can't do that today,
Right.
you definitely can't do that today. But it was just, we knew, and my parents may say, don't go through Miss Johnson's backyard, or don't hop her fence and stuff. But like we would talk to Miss Johnson or whoever, and it was just that thing. But and that's when you didn't have the bike. But once you had that bike and you could ride that little dirt path next to the highway, which probably not the safest thing to do, but that's just everything we did. And it's like, because it was them, it was the Rogers. They lived in the first house on the tree, so their street had the most kids on it. So if there was ever football that needed to be played, it was on that street, and we played in the street. Like I got scars on my legs to prove it. I done hit the car so many times.
Right.
But so yeah, from middle school on, and I was 1 year older than Sarah, 2 years older than Matt.
Okay.
And then yeah, the twins were Sean's age.
Okay, so you were a little bit older, because I ain't gonna lie, at one point Sean was sleeping at the crib on the couch. Like I was like, is Sean like them latter years of high school, when Sean was in high school and the twins was about to graduate, like those years, man, Sean was at the crib eating food all the time. Sean had a bottomless pit of a stomach. He just would not stop eating. Like, I don't know if he's still like that to this day, but man, yo, Sean he would not stop eating. I promise you.
Yeah, if it was Thanksgiving, everybody knew you had to get your plate before Sean got there. You could be talking like we all be like, hold on.
Yo, that is crazy. So that's just a small world. I didn't even really piece together. So hold up, because now I'm even thinking. So the days that you were watching me, you were interacting with people who would then become my siblings, and had no clue that was going to be the case.
Right.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Crazy. So. Okay, that was a little bit of a tangent, but I just didn't really consider that before we started talking till you brought up like going over there. So it's like, oh wow, like yeah, this is mad connected. So,
and that was in the days, like you mentioned, the kids of today. So everybody was on 55, like that was our crew, like all 5 little streets, and then across it where Emory Woods, where my parents live now, like that was crew, and he had Century Oaks, and if you ever play like basketball, it'd be like neighborhoods against neighborhoods. But the crews or your neighborhood, like you just knew everybody. Like these days, I don't think Noriah knows anybody in our neighborhood that's her age. And they just don't go out. You're not outside long enough to even make that connection, unless like you're on the same bus route or something from school. But in Maryland or in Montgomery County, if you live less than, I think it's 1 or 1.3 miles from your school, you don't ride the bus. Like they would not send the bus to your house. So we actually live that close to elementary, middle, and high school. So Mariah has never ridden the bus. So she never got that aspect of seeing where, oh, you live over there. You right down the street from me. So maybe we should go to the pool or do something. And she just doesn't have that.
Yeah, that's an interesting. It is a difference. Like the differences in how it's impacting, like just the way that people interact socially as well. Like how you're pointing out. I don't know if it's the next generation is like more disconnected, but it's like when you meet them in person, they're in-person skills just aren't the same as I think generations past. That there's like everything might be good, and then when you meet in person, you're like, okay,
Right. Or they
right,
call like LOL,
yeah,
HA, 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 HA.
right, exactly. No, but I do like to think back about like the generations and what the kids are going through today, because our parents came from of a generation that was much different than what say we came up in, and now you as a parent are going through it. You had Naraya 5 years into your marriage, and just as a pure black story, can we talk about the decision of how you and wifey decided to name your kids? Because my wife too is also someone whose parents had similar thoughts of yours, in that let's combine our names and see what we can do here. Throw it in a shaker and like, let's see what we can get. Can we just talk about like who had that original idea to say, hey, let's combine our names?
I actually don't remember.
Because it didn't happen once. Like, it wasn't a one-time thing. Like, this is like, oh, we going all in. We are going all in on this one. So it was not a one-time thing, you know.
I mean, you can't do one kid and not do the other.
Oh
But
man. Okay.
I think it was like, how can you do it and have it, masculine or feminine, either way. But we wanted her to have a nice name, and I don't. I know we were just taking the different syllables out, and then we were worried about how to spell it because we didn't want to do Narya, and then it became okay, Naraya. Okay, Naraya, you got Naraya. Okay, we like this, and then later on we found out it was actually in the Bible that it's a biblical name, but it's N-E instead of N-A, and I'm like, okay, well, that's cool too, and it just kind of stuck with Naraya, and then when Torin came along, okay, how do we do this? And that one kind of, because we didn't want it to sound too hood, if you will. Torin, at first we thought it may be hard for some people to, like if he's in class and they call out the name and they may have trouble spelling it
Hmm.
or pronouncing it. And we were trying to be mindful of that. The best way that we do it is to just, like we have T-O instead of Natoya, just Toya, because that's what most people call her. And we just started with the T-O, and then it was like Torian, no. So, and then you're just kind of looking at it, and then when you drop that A, like Torin. Okay, Torin, we'll go with that. And then that's kind of how it fit. Instead of it just being one middle name like Naraya said, I want I want to name him. And she came up with Jacob. Like, well, why did you come up with Jacob? She said, well, that's my favorite name from the Bible. Once your kid says that, we felt you can't just say no.
Hmm.
So Torin actually has three names. Well, Winston, Torin Goldman, and then Naraya's Naraya Coral. And I'd always liked Coral from, I know she doesn't like this story, but this person at school with me in Hampton, we never dated or anything, but I just loved her name, Coral. And I always say, if I ever have a daughter, I want Coral to be in her name. So she did allow us to have Coral as the middle name. But I can do that disclaimer. We've never dated, never did anything.
Hey man, you a smooth operator, boy. I don't know however you want to word it, whatever, man. I'm not gonna say it else, but that's what. Hey man, you a smooth talker, boy. You was able to get that in. He can negotiate for me any day. That's for sure. You can negotiate for me. Okay, all right. So I just had to highlight that because black folks can be creative when it comes to names, and you definitely are not outside of that bunch. So so how old was Naraya when Torin was born?
So she would have been, I'm trying to count like the offset of within that year, but she would have been 5 or about to be 5, or maybe it just turned 5. No,
So
4.
so almost like
4.
5 years. So you go 5 years, just you and wifey, then another 5 years, just you, wifey, one child, and then go to the next phase. That roughly accurate?
So actually, it's 4 years. So me and Sean we're 4 years apart. Toya and her sister Tamika, they're 2 years apart. What I was kind of hoping for was 3 years apart, so that one thing I did miss when Sean he got picked on a lot in school, and there was the only time that we were ever in the same school was elementary. So it was never a point where like we were in high school at the same time. Like I always knew other people that had their big brother. Oh, don't mess with him. Big brother will get you. And we never had that. We never had the ability to look out for each other. And that was one thought process I wanted for my kids, that if they needed each other, they would be there at least for like a year or two. So if the goal had happened in 3 years, they would have been like in high school for at least 2 of those years together. Like maybe a junior. No, it's probably more like senior freshman, but almost junior freshman
Hmm.
time frame. And that's what I was hoping for. But we just missed the curve by one. So Nariah being, well, it didn't help that Nariah skipped a year. So that kind of bumped up the distance in terms of the time frame. But that's what I wanted. So it's kind of like an average between Toya and Tamika and me and Sean. And I see Sean just
Yeah,
joined.
since he joined, I gotta ask, who, like, okay, what you say he got picked on? Like, what were some of the attributes they was picking on back in the day? Was it because he was tall? What?
So he didn't get tall until my junior year in college. I just remember they came to pick me up for, it was either Thanksgiving or Christmas, and Sean was taller than me, and I was just like when did this happen? And he didn't just get like an inch taller than me. He was like half a foot taller than me.
So wait. Sean wasn't always tall. Wait, when did he
No,
get tall? Say that again, because I've always known to just think of Sean as like tall. Wait, when did he get tall?
no, it was my junior year at Hampton. So his junior year in high school. That's the year that he just shot over me.
So he wasn't tall, like
I
going to
mean,
high school.
I was 6'3", so I mean that's still tall.
Oh yeah,
But he wasn't
yeah.
taller than me. He didn't get 6'9" until
Got you.
but he just shot up. It was just like boom,
Overnight. Okay.
right? But I don't, because Sean is more introverted than I am. Like I'm
Mm.
more like, well, if he knows you, Sean, he laugh with you, joke all day. But around people he doesn't know, he's more of an introvert than I am. And I don't know if that's the reason. Like we never really had a big talk. I just remember one time we went to Wheels
Shout
skating,
out to
and
Wheels. Shout out to
and
Wheels.
and I do. There was this kid. He was high, and I don't know why he was messing with Sean. And like everybody knows me as being a super nice, friendly guy, and and most people have never seen me mad. And the ones that have, they know it's all when it comes down to my family. I just remember Sean was having trouble picking up skating because he kind of came tagged along with me, and I just come home from college, maybe my freshman year, and there's a lot of my friends, we were going to Wheels, and I want to say it was Frankie was outside with him, and I just saw him banging on the window. He said, "Man, you need to hurry up and come outside." And there was this dude, and now Sean is, I would say, probably like 6'1", but he's young 6'1",
Mm-hmm.
and it was just short little dude, and he was just stepping all up, all in Sean's face. And Sean just trying to just back away, and it just crowd around. And today, if that was happening, you'd be like, "World Star Hip Hop,"
Yeah.
that's what you would see. And I tried to break it up, and the guy, he's stepping up to me. He's like, "Man, I'll take you out too." I'm like, "Nobody trying to take out anybody out here." We just, what happened? And Sean can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was something like he may have accidentally stepped on the kid's shoes or something. And I mean, he was just getting irate and everything. And then I don't know where it came from, but a shot was fired.
Oh
And
my goodness.
and I think it was this girl Nicole Rose. So she's somebody I went to high school with. She was there, and I was able to get Sean to her car, and I said, "Just take him to where we were going after this." And it was Waffle House, but I didn't want to just say it
Yeah.
out loud. And I had my truck, that doo brown truck in Ford Ranger,
Yeah.
and Frankie or Kurt, one of them, they had my keys. I was like, "Just go." I just remember jumping in the bed of the truck, and they took off. I just remember being with this kid, and he was a kid. He was a kid. Like I'm a college student, and this is had to be like he was middle. Well, he was rising middle school. There was just this rage inside me. Like if you lay one finger on my brother, I'm gonna mess you up. Like
Yeah.
that's just this rage that was in me, and I had never really felt that before, but I can just attribute it to my family. Like I'm gonna protect my family. To this day, it was just that's the first time I saw somebody messing with Sean, but I didn't know why. When he went to Jordan, I saw that same kid as a freshman at Jordan, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, he really here? The
Oh
same dude?"
wow.
And I think Sean transferred to. No, he was at Hillside. I forget the order
I
in which
think he
he was
went to
at the two
Hillside
schools.
first, then transferred to Jordan.
Okay, that may be right. It just our social interactions with people were different,
Mm-hmm.
and I just wish we were closer in years that I would have been able to be in the same high school with him at the same time.
Word. Word. No,
Not
that.
saying that he needed me to defend him, but you just got that brother camaraderie just in case, and
Mm-hmm.
then that's something we didn't have.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense for sure. Yeah, like yeah, again, you and Sean, I don't know if it's in retrospect, maybe because y'all were babysitting me, so that's why I had like more of a like thought and connection with y'all as a whole, because I do have memories of being over there young, playing board games, y'all being like the fun older cousins. Like it was always something to do at y'all house. Y'all had all the
Right.
games. Y'all had, and hey, shout out to Sean. Hey, Sean, show me my first Playboy magazine. I'm gonna go ahead and say I saw my first Playboy magazine. Hey, I'm sorry if your parents see this. I'm just telling everybody. Shout out to you, Sean. It was, and the twins was there too. So it was with the twins. This is when I didn't know what was going on, and y'all had the Mortal Kombat with the blood. Had the one where you could actually get the bleeding on the joint. Like, so I do remember like some younger memories of going over y'all crib and seeing things that I just didn't get to see elsewhere.
That's only because we do how you turn the code off when your parents come in.
I remember this. I do remember this. Okay, he say, "Well, tell." So okay. Okay. All right. So I want to start to pivot here a little bit, because I wanted to discuss a little bit just about like your familial background, what that was like for you in terms of what we discussed and some thoughts in retrospect. But when you had your second child, Torin, and I don't know how to get into this without like so when you had your second child, Torin, I guess my question is, at what age did you start to notice that he may be on the spectrum? Like at what age did that take place for you?
It was definitely, and this is not to be a conspiracy theorist. This is just how everything happened with us. It was definitely immediately after his 18-month shot, the vaccinations and everything. It was night and day from you take a picture of your child, they bubbling and giggling, and he just wouldn't make eye contact. It was immediate different. Me growing up as a child who had meningitis, so I had meningitis at 9 months, but my parents didn't really find out that it affected my hearing until I want to say I was about 4 years old.
Mm,
So me being somebody who's deaf in one ear and partial hearing in the other, I'm more sensitive to these symptoms. When I'm calling Torin, hey, hey, he's not responding. But that's the first thing in my mind. Maybe we can't hear or something. And as a parent who has that disability, you never want that for your child. And I was like, please don't let him be deaf or even partially deaf. It was hard enough for me, but it wasn't enough to say that we think he's on the spectrum. That was, I guess, like the first symptom.
so let me
Then
let me ask this before we go past that. Like just from your personal lens, like honestly, I didn't even know that you had a hearing aid until I was like a teenager, like older. Like I had no clue that you had a hearing aid or any type of hearing problem at all growing up. I had no
Oh,
clue.
because when I was in high school, I didn't wear it. And my parents know now,
Just be like,
so I
what?
won't. I won't get.
What? you just ask me like, say it again. Or you just walk around smiling.
Yeah, yeah. Just laugh at everything that Brian. It wasn't funny. But I mean, for me, I had gotten picked on so much in middle school. High school was a new beginning for me, so I actually took it off, put it in the
Mm,
mailbox, and went to school.
mm,
So all 4 years in high school, I didn't wear it, and it was a shame thing for me. It was, I'm tired of getting picked on. I want to be treated just like the other kids, because I can do everything else. I can play basketball, like I could do magic tricks. Like I was still a human being, but everything that people saw was the hearing aid. But I made it a point to sit in the front row of each class. I told my teacher, hey, I'm deaf in one ear. I may ask you to repeat something, but I'm not being funny. I can't hear. And I learned to read lips,
mm.
which kind of becomes a crutch, like during COVID, where everybody had a mask on.
Right.
That was hard, even with the hearing aid. Like it was hard because I was so dependent on reading lips. Because so many people mumble or they lower their voice, but if I
Mm-hmm.
could still see your lips, I was good to go. Became this thing where I did good. I mean, I graduated with 3.8. I took honors, taking calculus and everything. When my mom finally found out, of course, she was heartbroken. And why would you need this? Like this helps you live. And I was like, well, I got a 3.8. I don't need it. I can get by. That battle kind of became lost because I was showing her I could succeed without it. And then I did my whole freshman year at Hampton without it. Sophomore year, she told me, my mom, she said, "Hey, they got this new technology at Duke. We at least try it. Just try it. It's smaller. It fits more inside your ear. People can't see it." And she said it was $2,000. It's like, you pay $2,000, for a
Mm-hmm.
hearing aid, and I kind of had this personal reflection with myself and with God, and saying, okay, people wear glasses. They can't see. They wear glasses so they can see. It's no different than me wearing a hearing aid. And if people can accept people wearing glasses, they should be able to accept me wearing a hearing aid. And if they're my true friends, that'd be okay. If they're not, I don't need them anyway. And like that was this mature reflection that I had with myself. And I tell you, when she gave me that hearing aid, and I'm sitting in the dorm at Hampton, and I heard the air conditioner for the first time, it was like, hey,
Yeah.
what is that? Is that the AC? What?
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
and then it was like a fly would buzz. Like I had never heard a fly buzz
Oh
before
wow.
ever in my
Wow.
ear, and now that's something you want to take away. But it was just a whole new world had opened up to me that I had just ignored for 5 years.
Mm.
And a difference about hearing. So I only wore a hearing aid in my left ear, which is the one that I'm partially deaf in. So
Mm-hmm.
my right ear, if you wear a hearing aid, it would just amplify deafness, so it wouldn't do anything. So a
Amplified
lot of
deafness.
when people say, "Well, why don't you wear a hearing aid in this ear?" and I'm like, "Well, I'm deaf. It's just going to amplify nothing. It's not going to help me." And so, like once I explain it, it's like, "Oh, okay. So I'm 74% in this ear. This has helped get me up to 100. But here, like multiplying something by zero, you're still going to get
Oh
zero."
wow.
What a lot of people at Hampton didn't realize was I may could hear now, but I don't have perception. You could be yelling at me. I would hear you, but I would not know where you were coming from.
Mm.
So you would see me just
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Uh-huh.
and so a lot of people always thought that, I was ignoring them or making fun of them, like they were talking to me on my right side, and I honestly wouldn't hear them because I'm hearing everything. I can definitely hear it over here. Stuff over here, you got to go around to get over here. So some people thought I was ignoring them when I really wasn't.
Yeah.
And one person even told me, it was in the cafeteria, that because I was a jokester, they said I shouldn't make fun of people, hearing impaired people, by pretending to wear a hearing aid. And I was like, wow, okay, that's what you get sometimes. And learning how to lip read, like I could mute the TV, like my parents would tell me it's time to go to bed, and I could just mute the TV and just read. This before closed caption,
Oh wow.
and I would just read. I would know the whole conversation. It helped me, and I was so glad that my mom convinced me to get a hearing aid. So just having that mindset, seeing the way Torrin would not react when sounds, because now you're worried if he's outside playing and a car is coming, would he hear it? Would he know to get out the way? And like
Mm-hmm.
that's now a fear of mine. We had tested, and they said that he had an ear infection, so he had kept getting ear infection. At this point, we're like, all right, so maybe it's just the ear infection, and he had his adenoids removed, and now he's doing stuff a little better. But now he's having sensory issues, so he wouldn't eat solid food. Like he would always have a gagging effect. Certain, you remember the old school bubble? Well, it's
Yeah.
not a bubble
Little
popper, but the
popper.
vacuum thing was,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would terrify him. It could be hanging in the toy store on the aisle down at the end of the row, and he would see it and would just freak out.
Oh wow.
And we could never understand what it was. And he could say certain things, like he wasn't nonverbal at this point. So his first words were elevator and alligator. It wasn't mommy, daddy. He had bigger syllable words was
Uh-huh.
his first
Uh-huh.
word. And he was always obsessed with the exit signs. So he had to know where the exit signs were. At this point, you're not really thinking on the spectrum, but you're
Mm-hmm.
starting to piece together the sensitivity with the mouth, this bubble popper thing. And I actually used that to my advantage to get him to walk for the first time. He just had this fear of grass. Like he wouldn't, like he would love to go outside, and we would sit on this hill and watch the cars go by our neighborhood. And if I would put him down, he would just crawl, to get back on me. I'm just thinking, oh, he just want to sit on daddy. But then I'm figuring out he doesn't want to be in this grass. But one time I sat him down and I backed up, and he's just like, and ran to. I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But in hindsight, I was traumatizing them.
Yeah, yeah. Doing what parents do to kids, traumatizing them. Doing the best they can, just traumatizing the
Right.
kids. Yeah, yeah.
But
Yo.
when you piece all that stuff together, I don't remember if maybe one of the teachers maybe had mentioned in the daycare, but we ended up getting him tested, and they did confirm that he was autistic. It was kind of weird with the timing with some of the, I guess, state funded or maybe county funded aid that you get, you kind of have to be diagnosed before the age of 2. But the one issue with that is a lot of people are slow developers, and you never know, especially in the black community. Oh, Bobby's a slow learner. He'll get there. Don't coddle him. He'll get there at some point.
Hmm.
And so you wouldn't get tested before 2. It might be 5, 6 before tested. But
Right.
now if you missed 3 years of state funded aid that you could have gotten, you had him or her tested early. And for us, the diagnosis was, at first, it was a death sentence to me. Like, I'm speaking more for myself, not for Toya, but hearing that about your child, being a child that was hearing impaired myself, knowing what I went through, at this point, we still don't know that much about autism.
Right.
Because everything that I had grown up with, Rain Man, that's all I knew
Right.
about autism. So I'm thinking, is he gonna be like Rain Man? You
Right.
know, and it was scary. It was scary, and you start to have self guilt. You think like, is it me? My DNA, messed him up, or you think about the time that he rolled off the couch. He hit his head, and he's like, "Dang, did that do it?" Like you question every little thing. Did we try feeding him too early? It was just, I can't even tell you how long it took to accept this and to use it as empowerment and move. I don't remember that time frame. I remember it being more difficult with him because as we're going through all these testing, we did what do you call it, like an MRI done, and they said there was something a little off with his blood flow, and they say, okay, we got to do an MRA, and like, oh, wait a minute, what's the MRA? And because this stuff you never heard of, and they want to put some special dye in and see the actual blood flow as it goes through the head, and what they're hypothesizing, I guess maybe whatever this artery is here, that maybe something had broke off and it dislodged in the vein or the artery inside his brain,
Mm.
and so he actually has a cerebral artery blockage. Well, they call it occlusion.
Mm.
But they say all this, and your first thought is he's not getting oxygen to his head. All this more worry, and it becomes, well, we don't know how long it's been there because this is his first brain scan. And however, he has these extra little capillaries that have built around. So if you can imagine, you got this road, and a tree falls on it and blocks the road. Some side streets through some neighborhoods, and you take that to get around and get on the other side of the road. That's basically what had happened.
Oh
Yep.
wow.
So these capillaries had formed, and we don't know when they did, but they were there, and they saying they're actually getting all the oxygen he needs, like through these capillaries. So they kind of give you a sigh of release, but knowing that he's now at a stroke risk, it's just more things that we have to be mindful of. Like we can't let him overheat. I think he can't be on blood thinners. When you're reading medicines and stuff, you got to make sure what like aspirin and stuff like he can't take. It's scary. So now you're dealing with autism. Now you got this cerebral artery blockage. You're like,
And they have nothing to do with one another.
right, completely separate. But we're getting them all at the same time, like
Mm.
all this diagnosis, and now his speech is regressing. So now he's not talking at all, and he's self-injurious. The first time we stayed in the hospital, I think we were trying to remember how that worked out. He hadn't pooped in a while, and they said that he was so backed up, like it was. I mean, so they said he was constipated, and I'm like, well, why we got to stay here is just constipation, just give him some laxative. And then they made us watch this video about how kids on the spectrum and constipation or gut issues are related. And they said, imagine me and you are talking, and I do have to go to the bathroom, so I will do that after I finish the
Yeah,
story
we
real
we we
quick.
we 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 we
But
can take a 60-second break for our listeners. We can put on some little break music for
but,
them.
but, but I'm gonna finish the
All
story.
right.
But say we're talking, and I have to go do number two. So I'm gonna say my brain is gonna say, well, I'm not gonna do it. I'm talking to my cousin right now. So hold that poop. Now later on, I get home, the comfort of my own house, or whatever. I was like, all right, I'm gonna handle my business. Now when they related to somebody on the spectrum, they may be in a situation where it's not the right time to go use the bathroom, and their brain will tell them, okay, hold it. But nothing goes back and tells their brain, hey, you need to release this.
Mm.
As we're watching this video in the description, okay, that can make sense with a lot of, like, I guess, environment that we've been in with Torin, that he would have not have just gone to use the bathroom. And when they showed the X-ray, it was just backed up, like
Mm.
all in his intestines, and that amount of pain, like he was biting himself till he was bleeding. He was banging his head. Toya had called me because she was driving home with him and said, Torin, like, I thought he was gonna put his head through the window. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you can't do that. And I actually witnessed it for the first time.
Mm.
And driving down a highway at night, seeing your kid banging his head on the side window as if he's trying to put his head through that window is the scariest thing you can ever see.
Mm.
And you're driving, so you can't stop them. It was rough, man.
Mhm.
It was rough. And when you, because he's nonverbal, he's not able to tell you what's wrong. You want so much to help your child, and then you see like the pain in his eyes, and he's like, buddy, I'm trying to help you, and you holding him, and he's like, trying to bite you to get away, but
Just
like
releasing.
he's
Yeah.
not trying to hurt you. It's just like get off me. And
Yeah.
but when we found out about the constipation, it's like that's just pain that's flaring up with him, and one, can't communicate how, like, to us. Two, he's not knowing how to express it, and if he's causing pain somewhere else, that's taking the pain away from here. When we were in the hospital and they put the tube in, they were going to just flush him out, and I tell you, the next probably like 2 3 weeks was just night and day. Like, he was just like the happiest. It's almost like if you got a fart and you just like,
Yeah.
you let one
Yeah.
out, you're like, "Woo, all right,
Yeah.
what we gonna do now?" Like that was how he was for like 3 weeks, and it was just like a whole new kid, and it just was just so painful to see that the only way that you could help prevent this, because constipation was so chronic with him, like he's on Miralax daily to just keep him normal.
Mhm.
And there's we're still now, with him being 12, he's using the iPad now, so he's able to communicate. So he will tell us, I need to go to the bathroom, compressor sticks or whatever. So he can communicate now. So it's getting better now. But prior to that communication, every time he would bite himself or hit his head or do something, it was a guessing game. You didn't know if he had a headache, if had gas. He was just scared. If he, like, I saw with Narayan one time, she had a piece of hair that had wrapped around her toe somehow, and like it was like just strangling. The toe was actually turning red, but I didn't know until you looking around. You're like, oh my goodness, toes turning red, and then you take it off, and then she stops. So that type of pain would cause the same reaction in Torrin. It was
Mm.
just self injury with a guessing game, and that, as a parent, that's the most helpless feeling, when you don't know what's causing your child pain, anxiety, fear, or whatever, to try to help him in that situation. But going to the doctor or the hospital, staying overnight, I think when we opened up to the Facebook community about our stay and being there, that experience helped me to be open with my experience, and it let me know that I'm not alone.
Mhm.
Like that, not saying that I'm going through it with other people, but other people know my experience. They're more mindful of it. They offer encouraging words. They've offered help, advice. It's definitely been a woosah for me. And I don't know if EJ's still watching, him having similar but different journey with his child. So he's somebody that I could see going through struggles coming up together for a special needs child, and us being able to bounce off of each other. And it just, because we weren't tight in college,
Mhm.
but we definitely grown tighter in our adult life. And it's a different bond, and you just get a more appreciation when you're out in public, where normally we like, man, that's a bad kid, he need a whooping or something.
Right.
And there's been plenty of instances where I know people looked at me and Torn in that same light, and it would all be because he saw that bubble popper, or it would all be because he had gas, or whatever the situation was. And as long as you could, in that moment, just get him to calm down, like nothing else mattered. And it's hard.
Mhm.
It's hard. And I don't want to be all doom and gloom with Torrin, because Torrin does such amazing things. I mean, he's smart. He's still in virtual school now with the pandemic. He just learned so much better at home. But they were doing stuff like adding 2 plus 3 and 5 plus 7. And while Toya was, because you got to wait for each kid to go, Toya just started just testing, like, hey, let's do 37 and 68. And Torrin would spit it out that 90, like 105. And he would get it right. And Toy's like, Ryan, come here, look at Toy had, big numbers. Like, yeah, whatever. And he's like, look, throw out some numbers, try it. And he would, type it in on the iPad, and I'm over here going, oh snap, he's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, he's thoughtful. He loved the joke. He does the thing where if you ask him for a hug, he'll come and back into you, and he, like, that's his hug. He just backs into you and wants you to just squeeze him. And knowing him and knowing that he's a people, he just loves people.
Hmm.
And out in public, he may run up on you. And a lot of people don't like that,
Yeah.
and that's fair.
Yeah.
But when you try to explain, like it's okay, he's just excited, he loves people, he's nonverbal, and they still give you that look, and you're like, okay, you ain't gotta look at
Right.
me like that.
Right.
But some people, because it's getting more prevalent nowadays, that more people, oh, I have a nephew, or oh, it's okay. Like it's definitely becoming more and more accepting in our community. So that's one thing I am appreciative of.
All right, so I know you said I got a couple more things I do want to ask, but I know you said you wanted to use the restroom, right? So I mean, if
Yeah,
you want
number one,
to,
not number two, number one.
no worries. So we'll take a little small break. Let me plug in this music real quick to give people something to listen to, so they don't have to go anywhere. But we'll be back here very shortly, and we'll continue this conversation. And a couple people already commented, man. Very much appreciate you being open, like how you been. Do you hear that?
Yeah.
High Flyer 87, how you doing out there?
All right.
Doing an intermission system check.
We'll be back, ladies and gents.
All right,
How you doing
I'll be
out
right
there,
back.
G?
Yeah.
Make sure you're staying hydrated from these. Remember, you're high class. You gotta realize that you're gonna be an entrepreneur. So pollinate.
Stress, thy enemy. Thy remedy, that Mary Jane, my melody. Your company is all I need.
Stress, thy enemy. Thy remedy. Stress, thy enemy. Thy remedy.
Got that fire all in my bag. High class living. Everywhere I go, I keep it roll with me. I be moving slow, but my mind zipping. This is from the soul, like your mom's kitchen. Now I done felt the pain, cause that thing illegal. Had to get a lawyer, had to pay some people. Had to tell my moms I got caught by the cops. And she helped me out when I needed a lot. Now her boy grown, still smoking on pot. Lived in Amsterdam, got a master's in high. Out in Spiegelskra, I was puffing that lie. Plotting on a plan and I rose to the top. Now I get the munchies and I eat charcuterie. High class, it ain't nothing new to me. 1 2 1 2. These other they tomfoolery. I'ma keep smoking. All right, word up. All right, so we are back. Couple people commenting here before we left. Definitely appreciative of you sharing some of your stories, man. I know before we took a break, you said quite a bit. A couple of things I wanted to just get you to elaborate on.
But before you go on that, let me address Sheikah real quick.
Okay.
She mentioned the husband with the hearing loss. Get that hearing aid. These hearing aids are so amazing. They got Bluetooth in them. You can have the TV going straight to your hearing aid. The Kennedy Center, they have it where they can loop like the audio. Like if you're watching a play Broadway, they can have the audio going straight to your ears. The technology is just crazy. Get that hearing aid. And I think most insurances now take, most audiology places take insurance now. Definitely, I'm an advocate of the new age of hearing aids. It's amazing.
Word up. And just on a complete side note, especially if you in the Durham area, North Carolina, listening, we got to shout out Old Hillside, man. If y'all don't know about it, it's at your ABC. They got the Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. They also got a straight rye whiskey out there available. Old Hillside once again, man. Shout out to the home team. If you haven't had it, make sure you go cop that. If you're in North Carolina, get you a bottle or two. Alrighty, so you mentioned the 18th month shot and you seeing an immediate difference. Like, what does that mean, immediate difference, exactly? Like how would you, like, so the question is, what do you mean by immediate? How would you describe, say, Torin at that point before the shot? And then you kind of gave your description of how it was after, but how would you describe him before he received that 18-month-old shot? And what was the quote unquote immediate time period in which you noticed the difference?
So before the shot, he was definitely a bubbly, playful child, like just always into everything, like what you expect from, a happy, giggly baby. And I would say the next day after that shot, it was like he was just very docile, just like, well, one was the no eye contact. Like you could actually pick him up and he would just avoid your face, like purposely avoid your face. And you have to like, hey, I'm looking at you. And and you kind of wonder like, Is it my breath?
and literally that was not his normal disposition prior to
right.
that time period of getting the shot.
Right. And at one point it was Toya had maybe thought, well, maybe it's because none of his caretakers at school, daycare providers, they're all women. And he's like, well, maybe he just, because you're a man, he's getting more used to women. And then now I'm even more offended. Like, well, I'm his daddy. He's supposed to like me. And I'm going back to how I thought when Naraya was born, I had a beard. It wasn't this thick, but it was a beard.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept it for a good, I'd say 4 months. And then I cut it because I would change my face a lot. And when I shaved my beard, she did not let me pick her up. Like she was
completely
crying and
new
hollering.
dude.
Right. That caused me to think, well, maybe this is what Torin was doing, but it just went on way too long. Like he just would not make eye contact with me. His, like I said, the lack of hearing, which we kind of attributed to the hearing infections, but it was also he was just in a different zone. He definitely was more to himself. Like he didn't, I guess, would try to be like crawl next to us, or he was just fine sitting in this little corner. It was just a complete different child.
And would you say that your wife would agree with what you're saying now in terms of something did change after he received that shot, or would she say different?
She would have said it then too. Like she definitely noticed like if we try to take his picture, he would definitely avoid looking in your direction. But I think as a positive thinking parent, you're thinking, okay, nothing's wrong. He's used to women at the daycare. You try to make reasons or excuses for what you're seeing, and not saying it's nothing wrong. There had to be something else why this is happening. So I would say, yeah, she would definitely tell you. Like we won't go around and say 18-month shot that causes autism. Like we won't say that. And it could be a whole bunch of different genetic triggers or something that he had some type of makeup that the shot affected him differently. Because Naraya got hers at 18 months too. And that is one thing I do mention to some people, that if you just think about anything, you're overloading your body with multiple shots at one time. If you have to get them, just stagger them. There's no reason to take all of them at 18 months. You can get one this week, get another one 2 weeks later, another one, 3 weeks later or something. And doctors do allow that. I'm not saying it would have made a difference, but if I had a chance to go back and change things, I would do that differently.
Interesting. In that you would have gotten the shots a bit staggered out over a period of time versus all on one date when they hit their 18-month-old mark.
Right.
Do you know what some of those shots are that they administer at 18 months?
You might need to ask somebody who's had a child more recently.
Okay, yeah. It's like, I just wondering.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But it was just a routine 18-month-old checkup, getting your shot.
I think 3 shots. I think it's like 3 of them that you get.
Okay. So you also mentioned, like, given your background of being hearing impaired, you started to pick up on some things that you could just tell that were signs or trick or symptoms or whatever the case might be.
Of just hearing impairedness. Just that one.
I guess you went through the story, but when it got to a point where there was an official diagnosis, and you had mentioned how that was like a death sentence in your immediate head, how did you and your wife, like marriages are fragile, very fragile. So just from the outside in, I do respect the team work that I see from you and your wife as it relates to the kids, like very unit driven, in my opinion, from the outside in. But what I'm curious to hear is, how did you two work with each other to process that initial acceptance of what it was moving forward?
Well, a lot of it is making sure the other person doesn't feel guilty.
Mm.
And you're doing that in the same time feeling guilt yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I'm trying to help you not feel guilty while I'm feeling guilty. And you're trying to do the same for me. I can't say what initially triggered the, hey, it's going to be all right. It was a lot. Like at the beginning, I definitely wasn't sharing anything on Facebook. One of the biggest thing with Pathfinders for Autism, they have a infants and toddlers program where you meet other families who have just gotten a diagnosis recently. And it's kind of like a training class that you kind of go through, and we did get a babysitter for that to watch Naraya. but it was like a nightly thing, and I think it was for 2 weeks, and you pretty much like you're in class and you're studying different ways to care, and knowing that autism, like the whole spectrum, is broad. Not that I can say, okay, my son has autism, I know exactly what you need. It's never that. So you learn the different aspects of it, what your child could go through, or what to expect, or what you possibly expect. And you're taking notes, and you're hearing other parents, they're crying or sharing positive milestones. And we do have our milestone. They just come a lot later than the other people do. The important that we learned from that was, no matter when they come, they're still important,
Mm-hmm.
and you should still celebrate them. And my followers on Facebook, they'll know. I'll share something Torin did that maybe a 5-year-old would do, and he's 12, but I'm shouting it to the rooftop like, proud papa. And that's big, because like, I mean, he has feelings just like Naraya does, and he knows when we're excited. And he can definitely, I think with him, he can sense our emotions a lot better than other people can.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to watch out where he could be like, he likes to sit his the glass in the refrigerator door, and where the water comes up. And so sometimes he's figured out how to lodge it in there so that he can just let go, and the water fills up. Well, as that water goes up, and then it goes on the floor,
Right.
and I'm like, Tora, no. And yes, I'm upset. At that moment, I'm upset at this mess that I have to clean up.
Right.
And he's not pinpointing that he's not a bad kid. It's just that he thought he did something ingenious, which he did.
Right.
But now Daddy's upset,
Right.
and so it's like you just got to learn those different reactions on how you react to something, because you may have every right to be upset, but it's just how he's going to react to that upsetness. That's the learning part that we had to develop, and bouncing that off of other parents and stuff. That was very helpful.
Mm.
I think the accepting that everything's going to be all right is ongoing, because there's still moments where you say, is he going to ever have, a normal life? Will he ever live on his own? Will he have a girlfriend, get married, have kids? You kind of have those depressing thoughts, like,
Mm-hmm.
these things may never happen. And then you have like that, the other thought was like, you have a boy and a girl, and well, it changes now because you have the hyphenated names and everything when women get married and stuff. And sometimes they keep their name, but then you have the old traditional, which, right or wrong, but it's just the way, the thought process was like, okay, you have a boy, he's gonna carry on the Goldman name, and then every so often you think about, well, he may never have kids. Like, does that mean this Goldman line will end here or stuff? And it won't. The reality of it will not. It will definitely live through Mariah, and it will still live through Torrance. But accepting that sometimes is hard,
Mm-hmm.
and it still goes on. And it's just still some days where all you do is want your kid to have a normal life. And to a certain point, that may not happen with Torrance, and that's a hard pill to swallow sometimes. Like, will he have to live with us for the rest of his life? Or I guess the rest of our lives? Not that we want to, because you do what we need to do for your parents, but sometimes you just want him to be able to do some things for himself, and that's tough. So, at the far as of accepting it, it's ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
It's ongoing, and I definitely have Pathfinders for Autism. Their organization pretty much based here in Maryland, but they were there early on, and they offer free stuff like autism night out at the aquarium, the Baltimore Orioles game. They do food night where it's just kids, families on the spectrum. And it lets you just get out in the community and do quote unquote normal things. So they have been very instrumental in my, I guess, beginning. Because kind of like when I first was able to open up to Facebook and people encouraged me, share your story. I'm learning from you. I never looked at it this way. Never thought about that. We're here for you. So I have that, and I have Pathfinders, and I remember when I used to do Girl Scouts. That was like every Thursday night thing. I would go down to Discovery Channel where she worked, and that's where Torrance daycare was, and I would pick him up. I hated to drive because I had to go. I work like 6 miles from home, so now I got to go all the way down into almost DC and come back during traffic. But the idea with this Thursday was, okay, the girls are gonna do their thing. It's the fellas' night. It's gonna be me and you. And the thing that he likes, because he's eating food now. I want to say he's probably like 4. So mac and cheese and bacon, different combo, but it's just like a plate of bacon, a bowl of mac and cheese. Like that was his dinner. That's what he got excited about at IHOP. So and I was like, we would go to IHOP, and that's what we gonna do because it's fellas. We
Yeah.
gonna ball out.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be mindful because I know it's kind of harder for him to sit and wait
Mm-hmm.
if there's nothing to do. So I'm calling IHOP on the way. I say, hey, I come there every Thursday, me and my son, and he's on the spectrum. I'm just trying to be mindful because he gets anxious when he has to wait. But I would like to order mac and cheese and bacon. We'll be there in about 15 minutes. And they said we can't do that. And I was like confused. I was like, but I'm there every Thursday. And unless you're new, you have to have seen me there. And I mentioned, well, what about like when people order to go, they say, well, they're taking it. Like, well, can't you just do that and I just eat it there while I order my food? And like, no, and then let me speak to a manager. And they said they couldn't do it. So
That
at this
sounds
point,
insane. That's so silly.
it was insane. It was very insane. But I can't not go because he has mac and cheese and bacon on his head. That's what he wants. So we get there and I order, and they just so happen to not have crayons or any type of
Oh my
toy.
gosh.
So at this point we don't have we're not at the iPad phase. We're not with the different sensory items because we're still learning. He is a little anxious and stuff, and it was just a very frustrating night where it just could have been alleviated by them. And the kicker is when the manager told me we didn't want to waste the food if you were a no show, I think his meal cost like $4.
Right.
So it wasn't like steak and lobster
Let me
or
pay in
anything.
advance. Like it's like, what are we talking about? Yeah, it's like that's such a that's not a good look. That's not a good
Right.
look.
So I had posted about it on Facebook, and I was just gonna leave it at that. Like this is like a frustration post.
Mm-hmm.
And
You tagged the IHOP and everything.
right.
Yeah.
And when I tell you that my Facebook family came through, people wrote IHOP corporate. Like people were blowing up the Facebook page. Like they went at them, and then Pathfinders. No, that's not how it works. So the regional manager reached out to me and said, "Hey, we heard your story. We're sorry about what happened. We would like to treat you and your family to a meal. Can you come in and meet with us, and we can talk how to make this better in the future?" I reached out to Neil Pathfinders, and they had like a whole program where they train restaurant employees just to be mindful and accommodating to special needs, not just autism, but dyslexia or Down syndrome. Just be mindful and accommodating to everybody.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh man, y'all do that?" He's like, "Yeah, if you wanted to come sit in the meeting, we can do that too." And so out of that came this idea that we would do this night out, and I was gonna call it Spectacular Kids Night Out because I didn't want to make it specifically autism.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to just be special needs, and I didn't want to use special. I just said spectacular.
Yeah.
We're all spectacular. And they said everybody would get, I think it was like 50% off their meal for that night, and then they were gonna make a donation to Pathfinder, like portion of the proceeds for that night. And we had like a sign out front. Lori Ray's, she's an officer with and Tara Bond, they're both officers with the Autism Intellectual. I always forget what IDD is stand for because I never used that term.
Mm-hmm.
But they're the task force with the Montgomery County Police. And when they came and they had like officers and the fire truck and stuff, and it kind of became like a nice little environment for the kids, and it wasn't that big. And an officer raised asked me to come over to this table, and this is the thing that hit home the most with me. And it was this lady. She had her daughter, and she had two daughters that she had adopted from China. And not important that they're from China, but they both had Down syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I just wanted to meet the person who set up this night because this is the first time that I've ever taken my whole family out to eat. And it's the first time that I felt the courage that I could do so without having to worry about what people may think or do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to take my family out to eat. And like that hit home.
Right.
Like, cause I wasn't looking at it like this was like, I'm punishing you, IHOP. Like,
Right.
like that's kind of how it was. But that made me want to do this more. And it kind of got too big for IHOP. We went to CC's Pizza. Now we have balloon artists. We got
Yo, that is hilarious. Got too big for IHOP. Went to CC's. Is hilarious. Yo, that is funny. Oh man. Oh,
well, I mean, if you think
man.
about it, like with CC's, you got it's the buffet style pizza. It was the way it was set up was just
More
more conducive.
free flowing
Right,
than like waitresses and waiters bringing food out and stuff like that.
right,
Yeah.
right, right. And the way everything was set up, the kids could go out and see the fire truck outside in the parking lot. It was just so cool, like to just have it blow up. And the Montgomery County Police started doing the holiday giveaway at the same time with the Spectacular Kids Night Out. So some of the kids were leaving with presents and stuff. And several of my Facebook friends, they usually always came by and support.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's amazing. And we did stop during pandemic, so I think we did it like 5 years, and then I've been talking about trying to get it back up, but I've just been so busy with soccer and everything. But that is something I do want to get back because I just saw how many. I want to say we had about 150
Wow.
people the last time we did
That
it.
was
So
pre-COVID?
yeah, pre-COVID.
Wow. Yeah, that's a
So
pretty big deal. Yeah, it is a pretty big deal. Like to be able to provide that safe space for families because it is a challenge. Like there's no other way of really framing that. And it's a challenge for so many different potential reasons, whether that just be internal challenges that you deal with as a parent, and then the nature of
right,
just challenges of the actual physical environments that you're in and what it takes to
right.
manage in those environments versus what other parents may have to experience. So it is definitely something that, yeah, like if you're not doing that now, do you like are you still connected with that community? Would it be simple enough to start it back up, or what would that take?
It would be. I would just have to. Well, one, DC didn't make it through COVID. Like
Yeah.
so they shut down. So now and I had developed a good relationship with that manager there. He was
Mm,
like, whatever you need, we got it. I would just have to start over with a new restaurant and just start talking to the manager, say, hey, this is what I would like to do. This is something we can do here. I want to have balloon artists, a puppeteer, different thing. It just, as opposed to me just saying, hey, remember what we did last year? You ready? Got to
right.
do it again. I just got to kind of start from scratch. So,
So is it fair to say, because a lot of, there may be parents listening, their kids may have special needs, they may have reservations, hesitations, things that they're processing. Is it fair to say that for at least your experience, seeking more interactions with others in the community was something that really helped, or it does help you move through that processing that you deal with internally? Would you say that
yeah,
that's something that you would recommend that others seek out in their local communities?
I would. And it's hard. I know it's hard as black men to say, I need help.
Mm,
That is hard. And to get past that and accept the help, that right there can just open so many avenues for you. And I think that is a tough bridge that we have not been able to just willingly cross. So just being able to acknowledge that you need help and that help, because one thing with autism, like early intervention is really a big key.
mm.
Like as soon as you find out, you gotta, jump on and get as much therapy as you can, occupational speech, as much as you can get early on can help you later on. And that time that I hate to use the word, but time to being stubborn or reserved,
In
you're
denial.
wasting. Yeah, it's hurting the child more. And I understand it's tough. So I'm not saying that I'm not trying to be inhuman about it because it took me a while.
Mm.
But so I thought I get it. I mean, it's hard to ask for help. It's hard to even open up.
Yeah.
and getting past the open up phase and then saying, "Hey, I need help." That's two steps that we have trouble doing. That's one thing I could do. The community helps you from an aspect of, okay, you're somebody else that's going through the same thing that I'm going through, and it could be something as simple as me and you going out to the bar and getting a drink and just chopping it up. And we may not even talk about our kids in that first or maybe first couple conversations. But it's that escape, that avenue that I have that I know you're going through something. I'm going through something too. But right now we we out here, and then later on maybe the conversations can flow. Because I know me and EJ, we talked several times, and sometimes it just be just listening, just being like, "I get it, man. I
Mm-hmm.
get it." Sometimes that's all you need. The stuff in the community, and it's so many different avenues through like the school system, through like different programs that the doctor's office may know about or the hospital. There's just so many ways that you can get help or even get information,
Mm-hmm.
and especially like online and stuff too. And even going to like the autism walk that I do in September at the Baltimore Zoo, they have a like a career info fair after the walk is over, where all these different vendors that provide services, and there's services that you wouldn't even think of, like music therapy and stuff. There's certain things trigger a different response or a different breakthrough in your child
Mm-hmm.
that may not go through traditional speech therapy or traditional occupational therapy. And sometimes it's just that whole trying different things out, seeing which one, and one of them just going to click. And you're like, oh, okay. Plastic therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I just made that up. So, but, that would be just, something like that.
Yeah, no, it's I think it is like, that's why I again I do appreciate you being willing to have this open sort of discussion, because I think too often in the community we find shame when these things take place, and there's this we tend to say like, let's keep this in house and not tell anybody, right? Like we keep it a secret, we protect it, and in reality, you don't have to do that. You can be honest, you can be open, and there are others out there who share these experiences that everybody can benefit from each other. And you mentioned this organization Pathfinders. Is that just local to your area, or are they like
It's local
nationally?
to, it's not like Autism Speak. That's more of a national or maybe even international. From my experience, with their headquarters being here in DC, I have just not felt the presence of them, of Autism Speak,
Mm,
in terms of my community. Pathfinders is based in Baltimore, well, right outside of Baltimore. The I guess founder, BJ Surhoff, he's a baseball player for the Orioles, and his son, he has an adult son on the spectrum. And so he founded it to help other families with needs. So they just pretty much cover everything in Maryland. And there may be different similar organizations in different states. There's one in North Carolina that my dad had found because he was heavy into research and trying to give us information in the beginning. Some organizations may charge, but Pathfinder, everything they do is free. It's where they get donations, and that's
mm,
why I do fundraisers for them. But everything they do is it's free services, and then it's been amazing
mhm,
to have that kind of support.
mm. I think that's important for anyone listening who might have, whether it be kids or family members who are in the special needs community. There are resources and communities out there for everybody to learn from. One thing I would like to ask before we sort of start to close things out is, from your experience. I know you're not like an expert as it relates to this from a scientific standpoint, but I sort of hint or talked about this earlier on in the podcast about generationally, like what growing up in one generation versus the other. And when I was elementary, middle, high school, autism was a thing. Special needs was a thing. But the way that looks today, in terms of, I would say, the number of kids that identify as special needs or on the spectrum is significantly more than what I remember it personally growing up. I asked that question about, like, in terms of the shot, for if someone commented, they said they mentioned this shot here, MMR, they mentioned these here. I'm not sure what I can't even pronounce that first one. I don't even know what
Pertussis.
yeah, you said it. Like, what my question is that Just from your point of view, like one, would you agree that there's been a significant increase in children being diagnosed with things like autism? And in your just opinion, like, do you think you have an idea as to why it's more prevalent today than it was in the past?
Because of the spectrum being so big, I would say it's one of those things where it could have been a lot more prevalent back when we were growing up. It's just people weren't getting tested or they weren't getting diagnosed. So,
Hmm.
so to answer your specific question, yes, I do think that it is more diagnosed today than it was back then. I do think, without any scientific piece to it, that yes, there are more instances of it. I will not discount that. I think part of it is also just that more people are actually seeking the diagnosis and stuff.
Hmm.
So it could be like it was always profiling, or like could we say it's more prevalent now, or is that we just have more social media and more cameras that we see it everywhere now. Where before it might have just been he said, she said, like yeah, they were profiling me at the store. Like, oh, okay, whatever. But
Hmm.
no, I got it on video. Like that's the thing. Now everything is on video. It's hard to pinpoint how much it has changed, but it does feel like I know a lot of people who have children, kind of, I guess, special needs community, especially in the autism spectrum. They say, I don't know how true this number is, but I did see a number that it got down to like 1 in 16 males are born on the spectrum,
Mm.
or are are on the spectrum,
Hmm.
and that's a high number. That's a very high number. Knowing the amount of friends that I've gone like to Hampton with, and I know them in the adult life, that number fits. It's kind of crazy. Like when you look at it, whereas growing up, I want to say the special needs class at my high school probably had 8 people, and that would
Right.
cover the
The
total
whole
school.
whole
Like it wasn't
school.
like
Right.
right. So it wasn't like 8 freshmen, 8 sophomore. It was like 8,
Right.
and now you have whole classes for each grade level.
Hmm.
Like in Torrance class, I had like 11, 12, I think, in his grade, and they had, let's say, 3 third grade classes, I think,
Oh
that
wow.
were for the autism program. So it's a lot. I mean, what you see is a lot more,
Hmm.
a whole lot more. Why? Because I don't really know the cause. I don't know. A lot of people can point it towards all the hormones we put in our food and all the different stuff, the chemicals we eating. A lot of it could be the more shot that we're getting. I don't, that one. I really don't know.
Yeah.
But it's enough where I do feel like the government should be doing more. There should be more assistance where a lot of stuff, like after you get a certain age, you gotta fight tooth and nail just to get some type of aid, and the therapies are so expensive, and most of them don't take your insurance. You got to do private
Mm.
care, and if you're lucky enough to get it during the school, you can get some speech and PT and stuff through the schools. But sometimes you need more
Right.
than that, more than what they grant you. And that's the other thing. You gotta fight your IEP. You gotta be that whole parent. You gotta fight for your kid, because if you don't, then they say, okay, well, they don't need anything extra for Torrin. Like, no, Torrin needs his speech therapy, and I'm gonna hound you till we get what he needs.
Mm.
And it's not that you're a bad person. It's just you're fighting for what your child needs, and they won't give it to you if you don't fight. And so a lot of, that's just grouping in a group of people. But like for immigrants, whether they're here legally, illegally, or whatever, but people who have not grown up here, they may have come over here for a better life, and they may have a child. Especially, they don't know what you can get. We may be at a function and they're talking about something. It's like, oh yeah, Torrance takes, he has 3 hours of speech every week with school, and then he gets PT, then he has OT after lunch. And they're like, all they gave us was, 30 minutes of PT, and that's it.
Yeah.
And how do we get that? I was like, you ask, you get an IEP scheduled, and tell them that's what you need. It's like, we can do that. So it's this whole, we don't know what our rights are. We don't know what we can get. And I
Mm.
think that's a big hurdle to get over, to know that you just got to get out there and demand the stuff for your kid. And the IEP, when I grew up, the IEP stood for, oh, that child has behavior problems, or that's a bad kid. Like, you don't want to be on an IEP.
Right.
Like that's how it was. But now, IEP is how you hold schools accountable for what needs or services your child may get, and they don't adhere to that, can take them to service on that, and
Mm.
then that can end up being whether you go to court, and then that could get your child, private placement stuff, because the school is not providing services for what your child needs to survive or make it through school. And some people just say, "Oh, well, they said I can't get it, and that's it."
Mm,
And I get it. If you don't know that if you fight for it, you can get it, then that's the angle you take. And I try a household with two parents, like you have one person who may, and I'm not saying as you do this and I do this, but one person may be more involved in a certain aspect of the school or like the IEP, I guess the plan itself, or maybe like the OT. Like I think at one point I was usually taking Toya to PT and Toya usually do the speech. It's not that no, I don't do PT. It's just how our schedule worked out. She would be more in tune with certain things like within his
mm,
IEP that I would be like, man, I ain't even think about that. I was like, we can get that. Yeah, I got us, 15 more hours. I was like, dang, that's all you have to do. Okay, okay. But it's just knowing that stuff and getting out and doing it. And people got to know you got to be that bad parent that they don't want to hear from,
right,
because that's the one that gets stuff done.
right.
And if you're nice or not even nice, but just ignorant of that fact of what's out there, you can miss out on a lot of stuff. I'm not using ignorant to say people are dumb. It's just you just don't know about it.
And the information isn't just easily accessible. It's not just
Right.
like, oh, yeah, here when you school, here's all the great stuff we can do for you. Make sure you hold us
Right.
to task on it. Like schools
Right.
aren't
Yeah.
doing that when you walk in.
It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, this stuff we didn't even know. Like, there's different levels of autism program at school. Like, there's the autism. One is just called the autism program, and there's the CAP program, and there's a PIP program, and it's depending on how many services you think, like one-to-one teacher
Mm,
aid help, or if you think you can be in more group setting. Then there's community-based programming where they try to get you out. Excuse me, like going to Target, making a simple grocery run, or ordering food at McDonald's. Like they try to get you out. So there's different programs that you don't know about.
right.
And I for one can't even say, if a new parent came to me and say, Ryan, what do I need to know? I'm like, man, there's so much, and a lot that I don't even know. But like, definitely want to get IEP. Like that's where it all starts, and that's how you get the breakdown. And
Mm.
and I know
Is that something you get independently, like through a private doctor, or do you need to go through the how do you go about getting that proactively for your child if you're a parent?
the IEP.
Yeah.
So the IEP is through the school.
Okay.
Um, so any parent can request an IEP meeting, but I think once you're on any type of assistance-based program, I think, and I may be wrong, and I think there's some people that work in this school says, I think there's even somebody that helped us out on IEP in one of the comments. You initially have to start out with an IEP to set like a baseline
Mm,
for what the expectations are. Like these are our goals for this semester or this year. And by first quarter, we want Torin to be able to walk flat-footed so many steps or something like that. And and that's how you lock it down. And
mm,
then on the base of talking to that or educational advocates, which would be private, you can learn more and more other speech therapies and like how much the schools can get you. But at those meetings, you talk about it with the program director and everything on like what's the max number of hours they can give, how much funding they have for different programs, and they still don't tell you everything, but you still like if you heard like, hey, I heard y'all do speech music therapy. Now how does that work? And then they tell you. So it's definitely a lot of it is pulling teeth to get, which makes it harder. And it's easier for people who have money because they can go hire an educational advocate or a lawyer that may cost a lot of money, and this is all they do. They work with kids, getting them private school placement on at the I guess behest of the school not doing what they should be doing for your child.
hmm
And like, well, hey, if we can prove that this school's not doing this much, then okay, they'll put you in this other program, and then if that doesn't work, then they'll put you in this other program, and then they say, okay, we've exhausted all of our options, we'll put you in private placement.
mm,
And like, there's some schools here where like each child may have a one-to-one teacher. They have like iPad is dedicated to their profile and what they like. Like if you need like outside breaks every 45 minutes, like your one-to-one person will know, okay, he needs a sensory break, or he needs squeezes, he needs pressure. Everything is tailored to that person. And when I first walked in there, I was like, man, this is amazing. But it was like 79K a year.
Woo,
And
woo.
and
Good gracious.
From a wealth standpoint, it does create a barrier because there's no way we could afford to send that. But if you can go through the school system and prove that they can't provide what your child needs, then they would pay for them to go there. But the
Mm,
other side is schools like this have 4 or 5 year wait lists.
right.
So it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. And I
Wow.
do implore, like, some parents, some fathers have reached out to me. They may have a child that just newly diagnosed on the spectrum, and I say, I'm here for whatever. I'm not going to pressure you or anything, but I'm here. I leave my number on Facebook, DM, or whatever. And I hate to say it, a lot of the times I never hear from them again. Like, they'll reach out with nothing. And hopefully, they've gotten whatever they needed elsewhere. But sometimes I do worry that they may just be in denial for too long. They may be hindering the child some, and that's tough because you don't want to butt in and be like pushy, because at the end of the day, it's still their child,
Right.
and you don't want pushback to be worse. And that's a tough line.
Yeah, people
I
got to
haven't
move at
figured out
their
how to
own
navigate it.
pace. They got to move at their own pace at the end of the day.
Right.
So let me ask this before we get out of here, because I'm not going to ask how do you do it, but you have 2 children that require a ton of attention. You got one who is, we're going to go ahead and call it first Olympian in the family, right? We're gonna go ahead and speak that out there. First Olympian in the family, right? But you got a amazing athlete of a daughter who had one of a amateur. Is that what they call it these days? Amateur career when you're at that level, or what do we call that when you're at that pre-college level?
Yeah, I guess so. Amateur.
And just literally like kicking it, just doing her thing, and gonna go on to earn her way through college, giving her gifts and the investment that's put in there. So the dedication as parents to commit to a D1 athlete who is playing year round seems like soccer across the country. Like you go in all kind of places, while also having a son who is autistic that does require more attention. Like I'm not going to ask how you balance the two. My question is, what are the keys between you and Toya to help ensure that, given the amount of attention that each requires, that you're able to provide that as parents? I'm just curious, like, what's the secret to y'all's dynamic so that you're able to do that as best you can for both kids?
Right. Well, thank you for the compliment. I don't know if there is a secret. I mean, it's
no sleep, no rest.
well, that they do require a lot of attention. And like you said, Narayan just got back from San Diego 3 weeks ago for playing soccer. And so Toya went on that trip while I stayed home with Torrance. So that part of the dynamic, I can't say it sucks because you want everybody to be able to go on these trips.
Right.
And so right now we're just not at a stage where Torin can travel on the plane. Last year I went to Seattle with her while Toya stayed home. This year she went with Narayan. And so we kind of do that balancing thing where, like, we'll split up the games. The ones where Torin can go, we'll all go. It's more difficult sometimes where Narayan has to be at a game like an hour early, and she plays on a team in Virginia, which is an hour away from us. We can't just both ride together to drop her. The whole family ride together to take her early, because it's not like down the street 5-10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then all right, I'll come back and get y'all. Y'all be ready. It's literally one person driving an hour. The other two are coming in an hour later, closer to the game time. So that part is kind of frustrating. Like, man, we just had to drive both cars,
Right.
2 hours each today, and we're at the same place.
Yeah. Following each other home. Yeah.
So just discovering that balance, that too is still a work in progress. I mean,
she gonna be gone soon, player. She gonna be gone soon. She gonna be gone soon, player, man. Shout out to y'all, man. Y'all go put it through school for free, baby.
It doesn't matter how you feel.
That's what it's about, man. Y'all put that work in, man. You gonna get you're going to reap what you sown here. Short enough, man. I'm telling you.
You mentioned no sleep. It's definitely like people ask me when I sleep and I joke. I say I don't know. Let me Google it because I have no idea what sleep. Um, and I honestly I average 3 a.m. every night.
Mm,
And it's because of a lot of it is you do so much, like you work, and then in the evening, you're doing so much for touring, or you have soccer practice. You got all these different things you're doing. And you don't have any time for yourself to just sit back and just relax. And a lot of people, I don't know how many people are still listening, but this is one thing I haven't really shared that much. But nightly putting touring to sleep. Well, the background is neither one of our kids were never good sleepers. So neither one of them slept at daycare. Like they would
no
call us like
naps.
like they not taking naps. Like I ain't got nothing for you.
See you at
Like,
5.
and so the nighttime was the same. Like Narayan would stay up, and with her being a straight A student in school, it was never okay. Well, I guess she doesn't need to have the quote unquote 8 to 10 hours of sleep. She's doing fine. And Torrin was always we could start his process at 10 o'clock, and he might not be asleep till 1:30, 2 o'clock.
Hmm.
And you never want to leave him because you don't know what he would do. You don't know if he would be biting himself the whole time, or if he would get out and come downstairs. Because there's sometimes where you think he's asleep and he come downstairs. So you try different methods. Like this week, leaving the light on. Like I'm in this room right now, but leaving the light on this bright might be the way that he goes to sleep. And
Mm.
then the next time I had a TV on mute, or I play ocean sounds on the elect. We got little LED track lights that go around the edge of the room. Sometimes I put that on like a low red and have it kind of fade off and on. Sometimes that works. Never a set cycle that I can do. All right, it's bedtime. What am I gonna do tonight? Is it gonna be 1 hour? Is it gonna be 4 hours? Like, how long is it gonna be before you go to sleep? The one thing, so like I know people had suggested. This is what I love about when you post stuff up on Facebook and everybody, well, try this, try CBD or try all this stuff, and
3
I
shots of
tried some
vinegar.
of those
Yeah.
stuff, but I tried all these things, and it's never a thing where like, no, I'm too good to try what people suggest. We do try a lot of things. What's the melatonin?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So melatonin used to be our go-to until I think about 6 months. Torrin would laugh like the Joker, and when I say like the Joker, he would just sit like I would be laying because I always like lay in the bed beside him, and one time he just sat up and he was like. And he's just like cackling. I'm looking at him like, what? And he just popped up, and I'm like, what's so funny?
Like
Like I
Tales from
want
the
to laugh
Crypt,
too.
like Tales from the Crypt, little joint that pop up and start laughing. Yo, like, hold up, man. Like, so the melatonin had him feeling crazy.
It had a opposite effect on him. I mean, it got him just super loopy and giggly, and he would just laugh like about an hour nonstop. Like it was cute when he first because he was laughing like, okay, buddy, what's so funny? And then
It
45
won't
minutes
cue
later,
no
you
more.
like, like, oh my goodness! And it took us about maybe 3 nights to really figure out that it was melatonin that was doing that to him. And once we
Interesting.
stopped that, he didn't do that anymore. But that was hard. Then you get to the point. It's now 2 o'clock. You have not woosah at all. Like, so what do you do? Is this your life, or or do you do you try to get something in? So now I'm at 2 o'clock. I'm watching whatever show I done DVR'd or whatever on Netflix. So now it's like 3 o'clock. I'm like, all right, I guess I'll go to bed. 'Cause I got me an hour in of Ryan time,
Yeah.
and that part has gone away a little bit while soccer because I've been doing her highlight reels. So I'm staying up 2, 3, 4 o'clock.
Producing
Yeah,
in the
trying to get the.
lab. Yeah. Do you still do that though, even though now she's like committed to a school? Like, are you still cutting up tape or
I have not. I just finished the one for her San Diego trip to national playoffs. I did one because it was just 3 games. So I just did that one. Excuse me, but I have not done the one for her ECNS, her club team. So she plays club and high school. But her
Mhm.
club team, I have not done the season highlight reel yet. I'm debating on if because you literally got to watch 90, 80 minutes of game footage and looking to see what she does. Is that worth putting on a reel? We still want to capture this stuff because for one, even though you committed, you still want the school to know, all right, you still progressing. It wasn't one of those things where I just got the bag like Dak Prescott and I got the money and now I'm just gonna
Oh man.
just be here. Like we want to know she's still because she skipped a grade, so she's younger
Oh
than her
yeah,
graduating
very
class.
true. Yeah.
So we want to show her that she's still physically strong. She's been lifting weights,
So
doing the training.
she's younger and still bigger than everybody. Like, yo, monster. Monster. Younger, more athletic, stronger, fast, like monster. That is crazy.
And then that's what we want to show her and make sure that the schools is still saying that we made the right choice getting her.
Man, y'all going to all the home games. Are y'all gonna admit, like, is that the plan? Y'all gonna try to go to all the home games?
We're gonna try to go to the away game. There's the girls, Malia. Oh my goodness, I can't remember the name. The Morris girls from Clemson. One of them just got drafted, but they're from Germantown.
Oh.
And we had met the dad one time before we went to the Clemson ID camp, and he was just telling us like his experience with them. He goes to every single game. And when I say he goes, he drives from Maryland down to Clemson, watches the game, takes the girls out to dinner, and drives back home.
Wow.
And I'm looking at him like, what? And he said he like his wife will go sometimes and sometimes she won't. But I don't know if this is true. This is what he told me. But he said like one time, the girls had a game. I was like, baby, you going? And she hesitated. She was like, well, let me. I'm gone.
Yeah.
And he just drove down. I'm like, you would do that drive and come back like the same day?
Same day, not even
Same
like,
day.
oh
Same day.
wow.
He would take them out to eat and come back.
Oh no.
And he said he did that one time with a day in between. Like say like the game was on a Friday and then the Sunday they had a game in Notre Dame. He said he would drive down, drive back up, and then drive to Notre Dame.
No way.
Like
wow.
So I don't think we're definitely not solo. I would not be doing that. But they're in the Patriot League, so they have some games in New York and Massachusetts and Pennsylvania.
Cold weather soccer.
We're gonna try. We're gonna see how the freshman year goes. She has not had a game that we haven't been to, that one of us hasn't been to yet.
Like her entire sort of amateur career, somebody's been at least at one game. Y'all gonna try and keep that going through school?
We're gonna definitely try.
Oh, that's dope.
I mean,
that's dope.
We're gonna try to be like LeVar Ball, but without all the attitude.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of attitude, a little bit.
Yeah, enough to get her going.
Yeah.
Like, but we definitely want to support because that's all you see. Like the football game, they'll show like, oh, this is so and so's parent. Look at them cheering them on and stuff. I know Naraya doesn't want us to be noticeable that much that the TV camera will highlight us.
You put in all this work for a reason. So, once she's there, it's your time to shine, my brother. It's like, Naraya, I know you out there in the field, but this is my time now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm gonna get my NIL agreement.
Yo, now that is a interesting thing to explore here in the near future, especially with a sport like soccer. The potential for her to monetize what she does off of her name is a very interesting thing for young athletes entering the market. Like, has that already been something to discuss in the household? Does she think about NIL? Like, I'm just curious. Is that something that is even a topic of discussion?
So she's not extrovert like I am. I would love for that to be the case because I think she has this wonderful brand that she could utilize. But I think right now she just wants to play and she's not focusing on or doing whatever she needs to build up the brand. Like if she had it her way, she would not be on Instagram.
Oh wow.
Not have her soccer profile out there. So that was kind of one of those things that we as parents said, baby, you got to like.
That's crazy, right? Your parents are saying you gotta have a social media. Like that is nuts.
I mean, we're like thankful, but like for this instance, you need it. It kind of like it was some tense, heated argument between us, and I just had to put it down. Like, okay, one, you skipped a grade, so you're graduating with a earlier class, but you're playing with your age group, so the recruiters aren't looking at your team yet. If you're the only person on your team that's the class of 24. So it's like your team, even though it's a great team, and then the 017, which is the class of 25, most of the girls are class of 25. They're a really good team. The older girls The team is not like they didn't make it to the playoffs. So the idea of her like playing up, just she was just in that weird in between phase on what to do.
Hmm.
And but we're trying to paint that picture like you got to be better because everybody that's going to these UNCs, Kentuckies, Notre Dames, whatever, all of them like state player of the year, Gatorade, this all state, all conference. Not
Hmm.
like you getting some accolades. Oh, I'm gonna be one of them. That's all of them,
Right.
and a lot of them having 36 people on the roster and only 22 can suit up.
Mm.
Only I think 18 can play, and 22 can suit up, and then you got the other 14, 16, however many they have that they're not even playing. And do you want to be one of those out there, like as a freshman? Like, are you going to make that mark to be on a team where everybody is all state, all American and play, or go to like so for her going to American, it's D1, it's a mid D1. Is it more likely that she may possibly play freshman year and she wants to play, but she does want the perks?
Hmm.
Big because you do go to some of those big schools and you're like, oh
Yeah,
my
it's
goodness,
nuts. Yeah.
I want to go here. you
Yeah.
know?
A lot of money
Um,
at those major schools.
right. So it's a lot of I think it's a lot of pressure on her out of her comfort zone because she didn't want to be on social media. And like if you look now for Yo Gabba Gabba video that I did with her Halloween,
Classic.
like it has like I forget the last 4 or something million views on it
Classic.
and
Yo,
something.
oh man, we might have to drop that in the chat here after this because that is a classic video.
But back then when we did it, she loved it. But now she hates that. Like she hates that many people have seen her, and and it's like, but baby, you want to play. You say you want to play at a big D1 school. Like people are going to see you,
Yeah.
and one to get there, we got to do this. You got to have something that puts you over everybody else. Everybody doing Twitter, everybody doing Instagram, Facebook, putting their reels out there, tagging coaches. When we go do ID camp, they're saying thank you, such and such. I had a great time, blah blah blah. And it was hard. And I get it, and you want to respect your child's privacy and their feelings because she's so introverted, which was weird because back when you knew when she was younger, she was just like me.
Mm.
She was just like mini Ryan, just crazy and silly, just want to be with all the adults, just have a good time. But now she's definitely more reserved. And as a parent, you want to respect that, but don't want her to miss out on what she wants as her goal
Right.
to play D1's college. And that's been a tough battle for us.
I think that is important for parents to push their kids outside of their comfort zone because who else is going to really do it, right? In their best interest, so to speak. Kids will, or I'll say individuals, younger individuals will get pushed outside our comfort zone sometimes by peers, and it's not even something we really want to do, or it's not even something that's to our benefit, but the
Right.
peer pressure will push us out of our comfort zone. Whereas from a parental standpoint, you want to you know that maybe it's not something they're comfortable with, but you know you're doing it for an end game for a reason, right? So it's like if your parent doesn't ever push you outside of your comfort zone, then like
Who is?
yeah, so it's like you gotta be that bad cop, similar to how you say are the bad cop to advocate for your kids to other people. Sometimes you gotta be that bad cop for the kids as well to advocate for them just directly because that's just the reality of what it is.
I'd be like, do your own highlight reel then. I ain't doing this no more. And it's I mean, it's like you say that and you don't mean it, but you just so frustrated with stuff. And like she had one clip where she flipped the ball over this girl and then faked another girl out and then thread the needle for the goalie that it was in a game that we needed to win to make it to the playoffs. I think it's one of her best plays. And that reel has, I think, as of today, it was like 19.6 thousand views on Instagram. And so I'm like, that's what you want. And she was like, do we have to keep it up? Can we take it down now? Like it did its purpose.
Oh wow.
Baby.
Wow, the humility. Is that where did she get that humility from?
I don't know. Not for me. And I would say too, but Toya, she definitely supports the idea that the mean to the end, like this is just gonna be your soccer account. It's not like a personal Instagram. It's not Facebook.
Right.
It's Mariah Goldman soccer, and like this. Just think about it. This is your business account. So she's definitely on the boat with me in terms of right. You got to do more than everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're just in that the idea of her reclassifying and going back to a junior,
Mm.
would that get her more looks? Yeah, it would. But we just gotta understand that this is the path we chose. We skipped the grade. We staying with it. We gotta do as much as we can with this, and if that means we gotta be out there on Instagram, we gotta be out there on Instagram. So it's something. It's something.
Word.
But I'm gonna have to start one for Torrance since he's playing Miracle League baseball. But I'm kind of scared to ask him and then give him the iPad to see because I don't want him to say, "Don't put it up there." I'm like, well, you didn't tell me, so
Oh,
I won't put it up there.
Does he like the baseball?
He more really likes running.
Okay.
So just being out there, just running around. He doesn't have the motor planning. He can hold the bat, but just to focus and make that swing, he doesn't have that yet. But now soccer, he can dribble two balls. Like he won't do it if you tell him to, but if you just have two balls out there, he may do a rollover and dribble both balls forward. And we kind of like, oh, okay, he likes soccer. And he'll type that I like it because Naraya plays and stuff. So we're trying to find a special needs soccer organization. I haven't seen one, so I'm thinking we may just have to create one ourselves and try to start it. And I think I'll have more time to do that once Narayan graduates, and then maybe I can put more effort in that. That's something that I think maybe next on my horizon. Try to get a special needs soccer going.
After you finish going to all these other soccer camps and then you only got to focus on the games, then you can refocus on some other soccer leagues. Yeah, no, for real though. But I do appreciate you being on and being just open and candid about just your experience, not just as a parent, but also as a husband and just as a family man. Before we sort of get out of here, do you have any? So this is my longest podcast too. I've not done a podcast this long. We did take a small break, but this is definitely the longest joint. Shout out to everybody listening. If you are listening, please go ahead and subscribe on YouTube for more. If you got more, or if not, say if you got more. For the people listening, what I would like to ask is if there's anything that you hope listeners can take away from just hearing you talk about your experience as a husband and a father. What are one or two takeaways that you hope listeners are able to walk away with after listening to this conversation?
The first one would be any type of diagnosis that, like with special needs or whatever, it's rough, but it's not a death sentence. And I say that with respect to some medical diagnosis could be a death sentence, like a terminal cancer or something. So I'm not trying to show like lack of compassion for something like that. But something like with being autistic or dyslexia or a number of things, it's a growing pain. There are ways that you can get through it with resources and help, and you will never be alone. There'll definitely be other people. You have to be willing to accept that help and willing to ask that help. So it's okay to have that mourning period and that woe is me because we're human and we gotta express it. But for the sake of the children, the sooner you're able to deal with that internally or with your spouse, and big ups to the single parent, special needs families. I honestly do not see how they do it. I don't, because some of the stuff, like I worry that the Torrance so big and strong. Like the times I'm not here, if I'm at work or if I'm traveling, and she's here, like will he overpower her or whatever? Because sometimes he overpowers me, and it needs two of us. And you see Sean, he's 6'97", telling how tall Torrance gonna be. And
Is he starting to spike in height? Like
he is half an inch shorter than Naraya already.
Okay, wow.
And
Yeah.
so he's about 5'6". So he's 12 years old, about 5'6".
Okay.
So it's so I have much respect for the single parent families that go through this. So two, I would say, the one was not a death sentence. Be willing to seek help. There's no shame in sharing your story because do not know how you feel or not know what you're going through unless you share. They do not know. They do not have the opportunity to say, "Oh, I didn't realize you dealt with things like this," or "I didn't realize that autism could affect another family in this light." Or I didn't know that these are certain things that they were sensitive to, loud noises, certain colors, textures. Now I can be more mindful when I'm working with them because I can say, hey, I know somebody, and now that you said that, they have the same exact symptoms or reactions to these things. So now I can be more mindful of not being like clap. Like if I clap, like we're just now learning that with Torin, like clap sounds, he don't like it. when you do that. I don't know if it's the sound, but he'll hold your hand and stuff. And if you keep doing it, like you watching the game, I'm like yeah, or something. If you celebrate and stand up and he's just tapping you and you're just oblivious because the play just happened, you could be hurting his ears longer and you're just getting louder. But now I'm more mindful of it. And those are the certain things that by sharing your story, your experiences, other people learn. So it's not just therapeutic for yourself, it's therapeutic for other people too. And I know autism, well, a lot of special needs diagnosis. You hear a lot of divorces rise with special needs, so that's tough. That's tough. That I don't have an answer. Just that I'm just acknowledging the fact. I do see it's hard. I mean, marriage is hard enough as it is, but you had add children and then special needs children. It's definitely takes you to the end of the stretch. Stand. One person that I can definitely speak on. Nikita, she has a blog, Walk One Day in Our Shoes. She has a daughter on the spectrum, and she highly advocates self-care. And I can definitely say I agree with that. I'm trying to get Toya to do more self-care, and that's one thing that I've done, even though it's at 3:00 in the morning, because that's the only time I get it in. But you definitely got to make a time for yourself, because if you burn out, you're not going to be able to take care of them. And even though I may be sacrificing sleep, but at least I've had my downtime that I can watch or whatever. Even if it's just 30 minutes of wilding out, I'm watching something. I'm doing something
Right.
for myself. And I think that's definitely important, just because you will burn out.
Word. Yeah, man. I really appreciate you joining. I've said it, but I say it again for the record, man. Like, growing up, I got a few older cousins that I look up to on both sides of the family that I just always sort of looked up to as like older, cool cousins. Just from me to you, you've been just a great role model, just period. From younger, I'm not going to ask you to do a magic trick right now. Just out of the blue, like, yo, throw some magic on the screen real quick. Like, I'm not going to ask you to do no magic tricks, but like, like, just even like, this might be my first time even seeing you take a sip of alcohol, for example. I'm not saying that makes it good or bad, but just the way that you've always presented yourself to me, giving me something to look at from afar, to just visualize and learn from what you do from afar. I've always appreciated both you and Sean as older cousins, and I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity to frankly ask some questions that I don't think I've ever really had a chance to ask before. So being able to have this conversation openly is refreshing for myself, but do want to share with you that I do value and cherish the dynamic that we've had through the years.
Oh, me too, man. You always be Nugget.
Hey, man, don't bleep that out, man. You can't be giving people my nickname, man. What is you doing, man? No, man, but it is what it is. You are one of the people who I never blink an eye at when I hear the word Nugget. It just is what it is. I'm about to get into the outro music. Any last things you want to say to the audience before I get us out of here?
I don't know. Hampton the Real HU. I've always said.
You stay repping.
And yeah, I definitely always represent Durham. I wear Durham Bulls hat all the time.
Hey, man, you ain't seen this one. Cervezas de Durham. Hey, man, I got this. All this is Durham Bulls merch too, man. We out here shining. This is the G podcast, where we focus on family, friends, finances, freedom, and our future, and everything else. This is the G podcast. Greatly appreciate y'all listening. Shout out to Ryan for joining.
I'm not taking no talk back.
Thank you for having me. Subscribe.